You strong.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Beautiful Bag Podcast. I am your host, LeeAnne Hayden, and I am coming to you from the loft here in New Hampshire. This week is going to be a solo episode, as promised. For any of you who follow me over on social media or are on the email list, I kind of told a little brief story of what happened to me this last Sunday into Monday. I ended up in the hospital. So I want to share that journey with you. And I want to talk about, because this wasn't the first time that has happened to me. This wasn't the first time that I was in the hospital due to a small bowel obstruction, due to having adhesions from surgery. So I'm going to share all the things that I learned. And again, as I always say, this is my personal story. This isn't to, tell you what to do. This isn't to I don't cure, prevent, treat anything here. These are just my personal stories or our personal stories that are shared here on the podcast. So please, if anything ever happens to you, if you do feel like you have a small bowel obstruction, go straight to the emergency room, call your doctor and follow your doctor's orders. They know what they're doing. But I'm just going to share what I learned from having my small bowel obstruction this is probably my 7th or 8th one I've had in 9 years over the time, and what I've learned that works for me, and now what I'm going to be doing from a nutrition standpoint going forward. So let's back up. Let's back it up. Let's back the bus up. So 9 years ago, as you know, 9.5 years ago, I had my ostomy surgery, and I personally am in a colostomy bag. So I had the cancer, I had the sarcoma tumor. I was under for 9 hours. Okay, so imagine that, a 9-hour open abdominal surgery. Now, one thing, surgeons do such a great job, and my surgeon did such a great job, and he feels bad that I'm left with adhesions, but they are almost to be expected. The only problem is nobody really talks about them. What are they? Where do they come from? And what can we do to help mitigate them, prevent them? All those things. We personally can't, but surgeons can, or they try to. So long story short, I am under a 9-hour surgery. And when you're opened up like that, especially in your abdominal wall, we think of, let's talk about what an adhesion is. Let me back this up. Let's talk about what an adhesion is, because some people don't know, because I mentioned this online and people are like, wait, what's an adhesion? Please tell me. So when you have surgery or any kind of scrape or whatever, your skin on the outside scabs up, right? You end up with scar tissue. But we never think about the scar tissue on the inside of our body, right? So our body on the outside heals, and sometimes they tell you like use vitamin E oil on the scar, things like that, like massage the scar to make it softer and looser, but they never talk about what happens to the scarring on the inside of our body. So what happened to me is I ended up with adhesions. And adhesions, what an adhesion is it's scar tissue on the inside of our body. And sometimes that scar tissue can float around. It just floats around inside your body, and it has the ability to attach to something. It can attach to a small intestine. It can attach to a large intestine. It can attach to, an organ. It can just lay dormant around, along your muscle wall. Like it can just do anything. It just floats around inside your body. Or at least I have adhesions that do that. So I didn't know about adhesions. I had no idea any of this. All I know is I have surgery, a 9-hour surgery. I get out of it. I have my ostomy. I'm dealing with this whole new ostomy world for the first few years. And then after about a year and a half, I started getting little cramps, stomach aches. And it happened to be basically right where your gallbladder is. So if you're watching me on the video, I'm kind of pointing to it, right? Because I know where it is now. I know exactly where it is. So I thought that I was having gallbladder attacks. It was really painful, and it happened a couple of times, and it was just extremely, extremely painful. I was very nauseous. I was throwing up. I was doubled over in pain, and it was like a gas pain. I'll explain the pain of some things that happened later on. So, but at the time, it was just like this massive gas pain. And my mother's like, your father had his gallbladder out. Your sister had a gallbladder out. You're probably having gallbladder attacks. Go to the hospital. So, I went to the ER one time. It was Christmas Eve, and my mom's like, you're going to have to watch your diet. And I'm like, Mom, I don't eat greasy foods. Cause I Googled like what causes gallstones, right? Or gallbladder attacks. And they're like, greasy foods and high fats and things just that, foods that aren't good for you can create gallbladder attacks from what I Googled. And so I'm like, Mom, I eat healthy. I'm eating healthy nuts. I'm eating whole grains. I'm eating broccoli. You guys you're getting where I'm going with this, right? So I'm eating healthy. And so, but I'm doubled over in pain Christmas Eve. John had to call John had to call an ambulance to come pick me up. He's like, we got to get you out of here. He didn't know what to do. I couldn't move out of my bed at this point. I couldn't stop throwing up. So they gave me Zofran, got me in the ambulance, got me to the hospital. And this was probably the second time that I had gone to the ER. And this was not just about 2 years after my surgery that this had happened, right? So it happened almost like within a few months of each other. So the second time this happens, I say, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, listen, I'm having a gallbladder attack. You got to take the gallbladder out. I don't want this to ever happen again. This is so painful, blah, 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 blah. Surgeon takes my gallbladder out. And I'm like, okay, there, problem solved, right? Problem solved. Gallbladder attacks. No idea it was adhesions. Gallbladder attacks. So gallbladder's out. Life goes on. Things are better. Things are okay, right? So we go to New York. We move to New York a few months later, and we go out and we have this beautiful dinner in one of the restaurants in the city. And all of a sudden I start getting that ache. I started getting an ache again in the same spot that I used to have the massive pain for the gallbladder attacks, in quotes. And I start getting this pain and I'm like, oh, this isn't right. And I start to feel there. And it's really hard in that area, like really hard. Still is to this day, because there's an adhesion there. I know this now. Didn't know this then. It was just starting to get crampy. It ended up going away. And I was like, okay, I can handle this. It went away. Year goes by, year and a half goes by. So that's number 3, right? So year and a half goes by and it's time for my CT scan. And I'm going into the hospital because, my semi-annual CT scan because of my cancer surgery. Because of my cancer, I had to go at the time get CT scans every 6 months for the first 5 years. So I go in and I'm not feeling all that great. I drink down the drink. I have to almost choke it down, because I'm like, I feel so full. Like, I don't know if I can get all this down. So I go in, I go through the CT scan, I get my Uber after, I'm on my way back to the apartment. I get back to the apartment and I go upstairs, like I run into my apartment and I'm tossing my cookies. Like all of a sudden it's just all coming up and I'm just the toilet, blah, this isn't good. And so my doctor calls me right away and she's like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, it's funny you ask. I'm really crampy and I just started throwing up. Like I just started tossing my cookies, like all of a sudden. And she goes, LeeAnne, you have a small bowel obstruction. You need to go to the ER right now. Now, guys, I lived in Manhattan. I had no idea I'd never been to the hospital in Manhattan. Like, how do you get to a hospital, an emergency room? So I call an Uber and I call my husband. I call John and I'm like, I'm grabbing an Uber. I got to go to the ER. Just meet me there. So, and again, the pain is in that same spot and it's tight and it's hard. So I get to the ER. Now I know it's a small bowel obstruction. It showed up on the CT scan. That's why she gave me a call. They give me an NG tube. Now, if anybody has ever had an NG tube, to clear the obstruction is what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to suck all the food out. That to me is one of the worst things that I've ever personally had happen. Like an NG tube up the nose, down the back of the throat. I have a heart. I'm like, I can't hardly swallow. Like it's a small tube, but I felt like it was a huge tube. So they get everything out and sometimes they have to do this. So what we discover, and this was probably 2019, right? So my first surgery was 2016. Now it's 2019, so it's 3 years later. And what we realize is I had an adhesion wrapped around the small bowels in that spot, that specific spot. It's still there to this day. I can still feel it. I can still feel it nice and hard right there. Every once in a while, I'll massage it. So I have this adhesion. And what it did is the adhesion was wrapped around the outside of my small intestine. So when our intestines work, right, They open, they close, they open, they close, because they're moving the food around, right? So it's like opening, like moving the food around. So when you have an adhesion, it's tighter, right? There's that scar tissue's wrapped around your colon. So it's hard. It can't open and close as normally as the rest of your colon. And so here I am eating healthy again, nuts and seeds and salads and broccoli and whole grains and fiber, because it's good for you, especially if you are predetermined to have, a genetic position or colon cancer, right? It's really, fiber is really good. It moves the food around. It fuels your body. It thickens your stool. It's really good. It's really healthy for you. It keeps your gut microbiome healthy. So I'm eating healthy. However, it's getting stuck, right? Because now I'm overloading my system with all these really healthy foods, and it slows down digestion. Fiber slows down the digestion, and the adhesion is wrapped around that small intestine, and it's getting blocked and it's getting stuck. So now it's like, now they take all that food out, they flush it through, right? They give me, I don't know what they gave me at the hospital at this point, but they gave me something. It liquefied, it was like an enema, not an enema, but it was like I drank it, like a contrast. That's the word I'm looking for. They gave me some kind of a contrast at the time, didn't know the name of it. Flushed it all out. I'm good to go in the hospital overnight, just being monitored, because you got to be careful, right? Because this can be serious. Small bowel obstructions are no joke. And we as ostomates are prone to them. Why? Because we have had our stomachs opened, right? We have had all of our organs, like organs played around with, stomachs wide open, scar tissues floating around in there. And we have to be very careful because blockages can happen. Now we have to keep our stools softer. Ileostomies are a little different, right? We're all just so different. For me, I need to keep my stool soft. I have a colostomy. I'm missing about a foot of my colon. And so I have to keep it soft. So anyways, clear that all up. Year and a half goes by, no more issues, no more problems. COVID's happening. We're in New York. We go out, restaurants start opening up. I go out, and guys, what do I eat? I ate a kale salad. Yeah. I'm not gonna just leave it. I ate a kale salad. Now, what happens that night? We're walking home, and I can start to feel the cramping happening again in that same spot. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be painful. So I start sweating. We get home, and a few hours later, I'm starting to throw up. I'm starting to have pain. I had taken a diuretic. I had taken a laxative thinking I'm going to help break it down. I'm going to help get it through the whole thing. That one I worked through. I called my doctor the next morning. I'm like, listen, this happened to me last night. I'm still crampy, but things started working its way through. She got upset with me, rightfully so. And she said, LeeAnne, small bowel obstructions are serious. You can die. Like it can hurt. You can rip apart. How's that? It can rip apart your small intestine. She was very upset with me. She's like, I need you now to go to the ER. I need to get some scan. We need a CT scan. We need x-rays. We need to make sure that the whole thing is cleared, that nothing happened inside your intestine. So please, next time that happens, just get in the car, go straight to the hospital. Like, don't mess with this. This is no joke, right? Okay. That happens. John and I move home, right? So now we're at what? We're at number 4. So we're at number 4. So John and I move home, and a year and a half ago, it happens again. I get another pain, same area, same thing. I'm throwing up. I'm tossing my cookies. I wake him up in the middle of the night. I'm like, listen, I know what it is. We got to get me to the hospital. Hospital's right around the corner. Brings me there. They go through the thing. Zofran first, get me stopped throwing up. Bring me back. Make sure I'm not having a heart attack, because at first they thought I was having a heart attack. So they do that test. Then they go in and do a CT scan before they can give you any pain medication, because they got to make sure that everything, it is what it is, before they start calming your system down. And then they give me pain medication. And then they gave me gastrografin. Now, gastrografin is a contrast, and the contrast moves through, it takes about 6 hours. It moves through your entire bowel to light up everything in your bowel for an x-ray. to make sure that it's clear, that they can see from top to bottom and everything is lit up like a Christmas tree in there in the x-ray. So when that happens, there's something in the gastrographin that for me, and again, I don't know if it works for you, but for me, it clears whatever that blockage is right out within a few hours of drinking down the gross, disgusting stuff, but it works. So it clears it out. I fill up a few bags, get an x-ray, and go home. Now we're good. Now, January, 2 months ago. I know this is a long story, guys, so stick with me. There's a purpose to this. January happens, and I am on a training call for UOAA's Ostomy Academy that they have. And if you guys haven't watched it, they had asked me to do a training on body image and how to be positive with your body image and things to do to really mirror work and how to get your mindset right. And I did that with Ryan Van Boris, Nude Food Dude. So him and I are on this call live. Like it was a live, an hour-long live, and we're on this live. And I'm sitting here at my desk, and all of a sudden I started getting this cramp. Now, this cramp was not in the normal spot where my adhesion has been for the last 9 years at all, was not in that spot. It was lower in my right lower abdominal area underneath my belly button. And I'm like, and it was that feeling, it was cramp, but it was that feeling like I have to go to the bathroom really bad. Like almost like this, it was almost like, and we can talk about this, it was almost like it was going to be diarrhea. Like it was just that, like, I feeling like I have a big gas bubble that's got to come through my colon. And again, it was in the lower part of my abdomen, like the lower part of my abdominals underneath my belly button. Some area, again, I've never had this happen to me before. So I'm sitting here, I'm having this pain starting to happen. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm on a live. I've got to get through it. So when I've ended that live, I'm like, this isn't feeling right. So I go in the bathroom, I drink down some Miralax. Because my last time I had adhesions, they told me to start to take Miralax, drink Miralax, a capful or two every few days to keep my stool soft. Because I, for some reason, also have the ability to be constipated, even though I personally drink 80 to 100 ounces of water a day. For some reason, my body can get a little constipated. So now I'm crampy, it hurts. I drink down the Miralax. And I'm like, you know what? It's cramping. It's in a different area. So I'm not thinking adhesion, right? All of a sudden I start throwing up. I start throwing up again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, John's not home. He's traveling. He's in New York. I'm home alone. And it ends up being about 2:00 in the morning. And I had been throwing up for about an hour. And I'm like, okay, this is absolutely a small bowel obstruction. It's just in a different area. I got to get to the hospital. We live in an old mill building. My son does live right next door. And I could have called him, but I think I was in so much pain, that all I could think of is I got to get myself to the hospital. And it literally is 2 lights away. So I get in the car, I bring myself to the emergency room. There's not a parking spot to be found over there. And I'm like, I can't park in the garage and try and walk across the street. Not a good area of town over there. Like, right. Like for myself, I'm by myself. So I stay in the car and I drive 3.5, 4 more miles to the other hospital to get to their ER. That's the determined, stubborn woman that I am, right? It's 2:30 in the morning. Nobody's around. I get myself to the hospital. So I walk in and I look at her and I go, and I'm still kind of throwing up and I'm looking at her and I go, I have a small bowel obstruction. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly what's happening. I can't stop throwing up. She hands me the blue expandable bag to throw up in. They pull me right inside. They don't even wait. There was nobody else in the emergency room, which is pretty dang lucky because that never happens, right? So I go in and I'm throwing up. This nurse looks at me. She goes, oh no, we're not doing this, because I couldn't stop. She wheels me down to the room. She puts me in a room. She hooks me up with an IV. She jams me with Zofran. First thing, I'm like, oh, okay, now I can stop throwing up. Now I got to deal with this pain, right? Like I'm doubled over in pain and I can't stop. Now they're like, we can't give you any pain meds until we get your CT scan. And I know this. And I'm like, okay, just hurry up. It took them an hour to get me into a CT scan. They do the CT scan. I'm being wheeled out of the room, out of the CT room, right? Down the hallway to put me back into the ER room. This place has ER rooms. I like this hospital, by the way. And so they go to wheel me back in the room, and the nurse looks at me, and I'm doubled over, like shaking. It was that pain that was so strong that you shake, because it felt like there was glass inside my intestines. It was just tearing. It felt like it was tearing me apart. She goes, "Oh no, I am so sorry." She grabs some morphine. She hooks me up with morphine. It was like relief, instant relief for me. And so we get in there. They're like, "Yep, you have a small bowel obstruction, but it's in your lower right quadrant under your belly button." And it looks like, from what we can see, is it's an adhesion on the outside of your small intestine. So now all of a sudden I've had an adhesion floating around in my body that decides to attach into a different area. That's in January. They give me the gastrographin, flushes it all through. I clear out 2 bags. I change my bag twice, get an x-ray, go home. Sunday, go out for pizza with the family, having pizza, come home, start cramping in that same lower right quadrant, like that same lower abdominal. And I'm like, all right, this is going to happen. I know what it is. This is absolutely, I called John. He wasn't home. I call him. I said, "Hey, listen, I have a small bowel obstruction. You may be bringing me to the ER. He goes, "We're not waiting again. We're not waiting for this. I'm not waiting for you to throw up, to be doubled over in pain. We're going right now." Brings me to the ER right away. I walk in, I tell them, I'm like, "Listen, it's a small bowel obstruction. I'm not nauseous yet, but when I do, you're going to need to give me Zofran. I know I need a CT scan to see this. Then I want some pain meds because it hurts and it's going to get worse. Then I know you're going to need gastrographin, and I know it's going to clear it out. And then you can give me my x-ray." I just know, right? Like, I know. So they look at me and they're like, "Absolutely." So they go through the whole process. It takes them, I was 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon. I finally get my CT scan at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm in pain now. It's hard, right? So all of a sudden I do that. Then they give me my pain meds. They give me some pain meds, calm and relax me. Don't need the Zofran. Thank goodness. Keep me overnight. Give me the gastrographin the next morning. Clears it out within 3 hours. Within 3 hours, I filled up 4 bags. 4 bags. And I wonder every once in a while why I'm a small person. I'm only 5'3", right? But every once in a while, my stomach will just grow. Like, I look bigger in the stomach. Well, no wonder. If I'm having 3 bagfuls of crap, literally, that I can flush out, that's sitting inside my body backed up, no wonder why my clothes are getting uncomfortable at times and my stomach's like bigger. And so I asked the doctor, I said, "All right, I have been told that no more kale, no more kale, no more lettuce. If I do, chew it really well, don't have it all the time, stay on do the white rice, for so many days, and then slowly add the foods back in that are healthy. Have your nuts, your seeds, right, slowly add it back in, because adhesions can unattach themselves and start floating around again. Like, they have that ability, I guess, from what I'm told, from what they've told me." So now I'm like, well, what do I eat? Like, seriously, like, this is the seventh time in 9 years that this has happened to me. 2 times in the last 2 months. And I'm like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? And they said, "You are just unlucky." This is what they say. "You are just one of those unlucky people that happen to have adhesions, and this is just going to happen." Yeah, I'm not okay with that. I'm not. Like, I look at me now and I can handle it. I'm looking at the fact that my plan is to live till I'm 112 years old, and to do it healthy, right? To be a healthy older person. And I'm like, if I'm doing this now, what's going to happen when I get older? Like, there's got to be something that I can do. So again, they had told me, take Miralax, 1 to 2 capsules every single day to keep your stool soft. Okay, I can do that. Do I want to do that for the rest of my life? Probably not. Then they said, well, you can switch between the Miralax and prune juice. Okay, prune juice can keep things soft and keep things moving along. And they told me, stay away for now. Don't eat anything fibrous at all. Stay away from the broccoli. Stay away from cauliflower. Stay away from salads. And then I started to think about, when I got home, I started to think about all the things that I eat. And again, guys, I'm trying to eat healthy, right? So I'm trying to eat the brown rice instead of the white rice. I'm trying to eat, the vegetables cooked most times, but sometimes I want a good old salad. And lately I've been having a handful of nuts. I've been eating some more salad than I normally would. I have been eating broccoli. It's been cooked, but I've been eating broccoli with pasta. So I looked at it, I'm like, you know what, LeeAnne, I have been adding up the foods, right? So if I now have a new adhesion in a new area and a new spot, and now I'm backing that up because now I'm putting in there. Because what they told me is, I mean, your food, you chew your food. And we know one of the biggest things we can do to help ourselves when we have an ostomy is to chew our food, like chew, 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 chew. When I was at the UOAA convention almost 2 years ago, that was like the biggest thing we all kept saying, like chew, 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 like chew your food, whatever you're eating, chew it, because then you mush it, gets to your stomach and the acid in your stomach can do what it needs to do. And then the small intestine can do what its job is. Sometimes I'm hungry. I just throwing down nuts. I'm like chomp, 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 swallow. Then I started thinking about vitamins that I take. Now I don't take time released vitamins. No, those are not good because they will stay in your digestive tract. Um, then I was like, well, soft gels, like my fish oils, are supposed to break down in your stomach. Some gel caps are a little harder. And sometimes they don't break down in your stomach and they break down in your small intestine, has to do that extra work to smash them, right? To smash them up because you're not chewing a soft gel, hard gel, a gel capsule, right? So I think, and again, doctors haven't told me, my brain and my research is now saying, okay, so I was taking, let's add this up. I now have a new adhesion, different area. Now I'm eating nuts and seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, nuts, having a little more salad than I probably should be having at the time. I'm swallowing gel cap vitamins because I'm trying to be healthy. All of that added up, and I might not be moving as much. So some things that help, because now I'm Googling and I'm like, what am I going to do? I am going to do the Marilax every day. I will add in the prune juice. I might do, a little Marilax, some prune juice, right? Or maybe opposites, but I'm just going to play around with my own nutrition to try and figure it out. I will be staying away from broccoli and cauliflower are out of my life for the rest of my life. Salads, I'm going to stay away from the salads. I'm just staying away from salad. If I need some greens or whatever, there's good greens that you can get. Like AG1 is a great brand. I'm starting to use a new company and using a lot of their products, which I really like. So they do have greens. I'm going to try those. I do drink a protein shake every day after my workout. So I'm still going to continue to do a protein shake because I want to get my protein in my body. Protein is usually good, softer proteins, like, and really chew the chicken. I do the ground turkey. I do the ground beef. I do fish, and fish is really light. You can break that down with your teeth. A harder steak, probably I'm going to be staying away from for a while. I might try that later on. But the vitamins that I'm going to be taking, again, this company has chewables, all right? So gummies, gummy vitamins. I'm going to be taking some gummy vitamins instead to make sure that I'm getting the nutrients in my body that my body needs. And I will be, instead of nuts, I'll do nut butters. Because again, it's processed, it's softer. And I started laughing with my friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am 54 years old and I am like that 90-year-old that's drinking prune juice and eating mashed potatoes. Because you know what? If that's what it takes for me to have the right food, then you know what? That's what it takes for me to do this. Again, I don't know if this is going to happen again. It probably will. It probably will. I'm probably going to get lax. Movement, guys, movement really helps with keeping your digestive tract moving along. Keeping my food softer is going to be another thing I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm going to be switching to my gummy vitamins. I do have had conversations with some of you since all this happened that some of you, especially if you're in an ileostomy, you get IV vitamins, right? So you go in and you get your vitamins right into your veins, so you can make sure that you're getting the nutrients you need. Again, we're all so different. An ileostomy is so different from a colostomy and a urostomy. I mean, we're all different. So I'm going to be switching it all up to that. I do know, and I mean, people have said that Coca-Cola works wonders. You all have reached out and like, LeeAnne, keep Coca-Cola in your house. And a lot of you say that you drink Coke with every single meal. Like you'll get a Coke and you'll sip on a Coke. You might not drink the whole thing, but you'll sip on a Coke throughout a meal. So there's something in Coca-Cola. It was made to be a medicine. I mean, Coca-Cola was created, the original Coke recipe was created to be an elixir for illness. Now, I mean, it does take rust off of cars, they say, but hey, if it will mitigate a blockage, I'm all for it. So I'm going to go get some Coca-Colas to put in my fridge. Now, again, I am so anal about what, I said that. I am so anal about what I put in my body where I'll be okay having cane sugar. I won't do the hydrogenized corn syrup, right? Like I won't do that. I won't do fake stuff. I just don't like fake food. So I am going to go find those little Coke bottles. And I remember my mom used to have them as a kid. And sometimes when I go to other countries, I'll have a Coke because it's real Coke. Like it's really the way it was originally made. And hopefully here in the US, we're going to get that back. We'll get that back in our lives to have original Cokes and get rid of some of these syrups that we have. However, because we know that they're not good for us. So I'm going to have some of those glass bottled Cokes that have real sugar in them and not the syrup and not the 100 million other ingredients that we can't pronounce. I'm just going to try. I mean, what else can we do? We can only try. And our bodies are all, again, we're so different. Some of us have adhesions, some of us don't. Some of us get blockages for other reasons, right? And sometimes the doctors just don't know. And like the surgeon said to me this last time in the hospital, she's like, it's just, you're unlucky with this. That's what she said. You're unlucky with this. And I am that person where I'm unlucky with this, but I'm not going to take that as an answer. So I'm going to continue to move my body. I am probably going to slow down, lift weights like 5 days a week. So I'm probably going to be backing, and that can strain your small bowels. And right now I'm still trying to heal, right? So I'm going to be backing down my weight training to 3 days a week. I really don't need more than that. I'm not competing in competitions anymore. So I really don't need to be going to the gym like I did, lifting weights for an hour, 5 days a week. I'm not trying to look like I used to. So I'll probably back down to going to the gym and lifting weights 3 days a week. I did add my hot yoga back in because I had gotten away from that. Now, again, I have to watch out because hot yoga will dehydrate you because you're in the heated room. So you're sweating stuff out, but I'm sweating the toxins out. So that's a good thing. I just need to make sure I'm hydrating myself. I do from a hydration standpoint, I do love electrolytes. Like they told me put electrolytes in my water once a day or twice a day. And the electrolyte that I like, it's called Ultima. You can get it. Amazon has it. If you get it from the Ultima store on Amazon, I'd watch anything else on that. But Amazon has it. I get mine at Whole Foods when I go to Whole Foods. I just grab a thing of it. I love it. Some people like Liquid IV is another one that's out there. So adding electrolytes, I think it's called Limit LMT, and they call it Limit. That's another one that has electrolytes in it that you can get. So I add electrolytes to my water and make sure that I'm staying hydrated and making sure my colon doesn't get constipated. Because again, think about this. Colon's constipated. So all that's backing up from the back end. And then from the front end, I've got food stuck because I have a blockage. So then when I end up having one of these adhesion attacks, these blockages, right? I'm going to start saying it's an adhesion attack. Then it's like my small bowels like cramping up, like trying to get this thing to move through, and that's painful. And then my large intestine is feeling the vibration, feeling the effects of the small intestine keep trying to move. Then my large intestine tries to move, and then I'm constipated, so now it's squeezing on harder stools. So that isn't fun. So we need to make sure that I'm hydrated. So I'm going to start using electrolytes, continue to do my 80 to 100 ounces of water a day. They said just keep doing it over and over, keeping my stool soft. So that will be an easier flush with the Miralax or the prune juice. Someone else said that what they take is they do psyllium husk is what they use to help keep it soft. They usually drink a teaspoon of it in water in the morning, and then by night it is flushed through their body, and that keeps their stool softer. So there is that. Again, I'm just giving you some examples of what people have told me they used. Another thing, keep moving the body, adding the yoga back in, twisting a little bit. I might do a little more like bar Pilates, get the strength in the abdominal wall, but add some twists that really will help with the digestive tract. And then the other thing that I did Google, and I don't know if it works, but I'm about ready. I'm trying anything because these hurt and I don't want to hurt, right? Is castor oil. Like castor oil is this amazing, amazing oil, and not to drink it, but I mean, I probably could have a teaspoon of it and it would flush it right out, right? But no, not to drink it, but to rub it all over your skin. Like some people put it all over their skin because it's supposed to be really good at keeping your skin supple and soft, but it also is, from what I've researched, is castor oil is also great at sinking, like seeping into your skin. Your skin absorbs castor oil really well. And some people, and some of the research that I looked at said castor oil can actually help soften adhesions. So they explain to you, and some people, like you'll see people talk about castor oil wraps, like helping the liver detox, whatever. Because again, so rubbing the castor oil all over my stomach now, like everywhere, from where I know I have adhesions and those two spots that I know they're at to all over my stomach, wrapping myself in a wrap, and then getting a heating pad and laying the heating pad on top of the wrap, on top of my abdominal, on top of my stomach, where I know the adhesions are, to help that castor oil seep into my skin and see if it will help soften up any of the adhesions. We've got to be careful with them. They told me, I mean, surgery, they could go in and surgically remove them, but that's just going to create more adhesions. It's inevitable. It's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to create more adhesions. They said they could go in laparoscopically. If it gets really bad, they can laparoscopically go in there and try and remove the adhesions. However, because they're attached to the small intestine, there is the chance that they nick the small intestine, right? Then the small intestine leaks, and then there's seepage, and then there's sepsis, and then bye-bye, LeeAnne. Well, we don't want that. So I'm going to do everything that I can. These are some of the things that I'm going to do. I will keep you all posted on how it goes. Say some prayers for me. I'm always praying for you because we've got this second chance at life. We've got enough going on of surviving cancer or Crohn's or having colitis, and we're in an ostomy. And sometimes it's not a great scenario when we're in ostomies. Most times, guys, my life for the most part, for the last 9 years has been amazing. I've had 7 episodes, and they last less than 24 hours. Like even the ones that I've stayed in the hospital overnight, I haven't been there for 24 hours. So I've been pretty blessed. And I know a lot of you have had way worse things happen, way more hospitalizations. However, we've got this second chance at life, and we need to remind ourselves, and we need to try and live it to the best of our ability every single day, because we deserve to be here. So I'll keep you guys updated on how it goes over the next month. Again, I used to only have these every year and a half, and I've had 2 in 2 months. Hopefully this is the last of it. I'm crossing my fingers that what I do, from keeping everything soft and doing the electrolytes and the castor oil and the movement, that it all works. So keep me in your prayers. I hope you learned a little something from this. I hope it was helpful. Message me back. Email me. Go to my website, LeeAnneHayden.com, and send me an email. Or if you're following me on the social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook, send me a note. I want to hear your stories. Like, how are you handling blockages if you have them? How are you handling your adhesions if you have them? Like, what have you been told? And if you've done any research too, I'd love to know what you found for research that has worked for you. Again, and the Coca-Cola is in the fridge, and the chewing of the food. Those will be there as well. And like I said, I'm going to start also drinking my protein shakes. If you want to know the protein shakes that I am using right now, send me an email and I'll let you know what I'm using from a protein shake perspective to get my protein and my vitamins and everything else. It's dairy-free, low glycemic. It's the good stuff, right? If I'm going to do something, it's going to be the good stuff. So let me know if you want to know any information about that. But guys, reach out to me. Tell me what you do and what you've learned from adhesions. And if you found this episode of my long story helpful, or any of the things that I have recommended that I'm trying and it helps you, please let me know. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to share, rate, review. And as always, I love you guys so much. I only wish the best for you. And I will catch you again next week when we will probably be having another rerun episode. I think I've only got 3 more that I need to get back up there. And then we've got some brand new episodes that will be coming up and coming out through the summer. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will talk again soon. I love you guys.
These testimonials are representative of my or our experiences, but the exact results and experience will be unique and individual to each person. The information provided herein is not medical advice and is not intended to substitute for the advice of your personal physician or other healthcare providers.